Goed, lieve mensen, van harte welkom hier op deze plek en deze avond. We zijn met een klein clubje en ook dat is heel knus. We zijn heel blij dat Ajahn Brahmali is gekomen. En dat is ook dankzij Ajahn Brahmali. Zij heeft het klooster Tilorien, Buddhist monastery in de Ardennen, gesticht. En we zijn heel blij om haar hier te kunnen verwelkomen. Ajahn Brahmali heeft een uitstekende kennis van het Pali en van de suttas. Dus hij brengt de Dhamma op een hele fijne manier, toegankelijk en zo goed als uit het leven gegrepen door. Maar goed, dat laat ik aan jullie over om het te ervaren. We are very, very happy to can welcome you here.
Very good, thank you.
At this place.
Yes, okay.
It's a nice group of people. It's small, but it's very cozy.
Good.
And we are also very grateful to Ajahn Brahmali from the Tilorien Buddhist Monastery in the Belgian Ardennes. Because it is thanks to her intervention that he is here now. Ajahn Brahmali has an excellent knowledge of the Pali and the Suttas, and his teachings are very accessible for everybody. But, well, you are going to see this evening. You are going to see by yourself. I would like to give the word to Bante.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you all. This is the whole Buddhist community in Antwerpen, is that right? This is this is the core, the most important
this
part.
This is the core.
The core, okay. This
Let us say
the ones
the
that
core.
matter, the ones that are really
Yes.
important. Okay, good. So excellent. So hello everyone. Nice to be here. And shall we start with some meditation? Is that a good idea?
That's a very good idea.
Yeah? Okay, so let's do some meditation together. Just to kind of
We gaan beginnen met
started.
een meditatie.
Meditatie. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So just close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, you can feel your body very easily. The body comes into focus very quickly. And just start off by feeling the body and just relaxing and just enjoying sitting here.
Sluit je ogen als je aan toe bent. En richt je aandacht op je lichaam. En voel het lichaam.
One of the principles of meditation is that it is a mental cultivation. It has nothing to do with the body. So you get the body out of the way. No pain, no pleasure. Just equanimous, even-minded relationship with the body. And then the mind can develop from there.
Een belangrijk principe van de meditatie is de oefening en ontwikkeling van de geest. En daar kan het lichaam niet in de weg zitten. Vandaar het belang om comfortabel en rustig te gaan zitten. zodat de geest zich kan ontwikkelen en ruimte krijgt.
And then as you just relax the body, you find a comfort in the present moment, and you make the present moment the pleasant moment. You enjoy just being here by having an easy body and also a relaxed mind at the same time.
En als je nu comfortabel zit, kun je ook het lichaam ontspannen. Op deze manier geef je toe aan de geest om zich open te stellen voor wat er is.
One of the important principles of meditation practice is to enjoy what you are doing. And when you enjoy what you're doing, is that it is as if the mind just comes into the present, becomes mindful all by itself. When you enjoy, you want to be here. And when you want to be here, mindfulness arises by itself.
Een van de belangrijke aspecten van meditatie is dat je blij van wordt. Vreugde. En vreugde manifesteert zich in het nu. Dus vreugde brengt je terug naar het huidige moment. Naar het nu.
And as you enjoy the peace of the present moment, you start the future and the past start to fade away. They become irrelevant. They're not important if the present moment is happy. So feel that peace inside of you, the peace that gradually grows as the future and the past fade away, and enjoy that. And as you enjoy it, it grows inside of you.
En als je nu hier in het nu zit en het huidige moment geniet, dan gaan verleden en toekomst naar de achtergrond. Dan geniet je alleen maar het nu en dat brengt je ook, dat kan je ook vrede brengen.
And as you allow the mind to become peaceful and mindfulness to arise, remember when you hear things or you think things or anything is happening, anything is going on, just allow it to pass through you. It arises and passes away without making any imprint on the mind, without you reacting to it. And then it's a very tiny disturbance, and you carry on just enjoying the peace.
En terwijl je je openstelt voor het hier en nu, blijven van het huidige moment genieten. En als er gedachten opkomen, dan zie je deze ook ontstaan. En dan ook voorbij gaan. Blijf in het huidige moment en geniet ervan. Zonder verstrikt te raken in toekomst en verleden.
And as you sit in this way, just enjoying the peace, just notice, if you can, that freedom from burdens, the ordinary burdens of life, the work, the family, the house, all the million things that you have to do. All you have now is just yourself, sitting here, being aware, enjoying the peace of doing nothing. And see if you can enjoy that freedom from the burdens of the world.
En terwijl je hier zit, En misschien van de vrede geniet, die je voelt, neem je even afstand van al de dagelijkse dingen die je in het dagelijkse doen bezighouden. En je blijft in het huidige moment van deze vrede genieten.
Okay, so we're coming close to the end of the meditation. Not quite at the end yet. Before you come out, first of all, ask yourself, how do you feel now? And if you feel a bit more peaceful, a bit more calm, a bit more relaxed, ask yourself why that is the case. Try to understand the process of meditation practice.
En nu we langzamerhand tot het einde van deze meditatie komen, kun je jezelf afvragen en proberen te verstaan hoe je zo vredig kunt voelen en hoe het komt dat je zo voelt of niet. Onderzoek het voor jezelf, voordat we uit de meditatie komen.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any way we can know the time? Because it's nice for me to know the time when I speak. Is that a clock over there? Is that something we can?
Kunnen we de tijd even meten, Heidi, of zo? Is er ergens een klok die we
have
hier om kunnen draaien, zodat
I
hij
have
de
something in my
tijd
bag.
in de
Something in my
gaten
bag
kan
actually,
houden?
Piotr. I can take it from my bag. That's okay. If you pass it over, I'll get it from there. That's fine.
Het is oké, Heidi.
Thank you. Yeah. I have my own clock. I know what I need for these things. Thank you so much. Great. Okay. Okay, everyone. So let's get started. And we're going to talk about today a little bit about the problems in the world and how to think about them in a Buddhist way so as not to make them so problematic. How can we deal with all the things in the world, all the things that we see around us going wrong, the wars, the environmental problems, the refugee problems, all the things that are going wrong. What is the right attitude from a Buddhist point of view?
We gaan dus vandaag over de problemen zijn die ons in deze heftige tijden zo bezighouden, zoals oorlogen en het probleem met het klimaat onder andere. En we gaan proberen hierop een antwoord op te vinden, hoe we daarmee kunnen omgaan op een boeddhistische manier. En wat is daarvoor de juiste attitude om daarmee om te gaan?
And to talk about that, I want to talk about my own meditation teacher, Ajahn Brahm. Have you heard about Ajahn Brahm? Anyone? Yeah? The whole world has heard about Ajahn Brahm. It's very difficult to go anyway, so especially at Buddhist places. And one of the things that was always very interesting for me with Ajahn Brahm was he was such a very accomplished meditator. Yeah, his meditation was always so profound. And he would tell me how he meditates. And the way he meditates, he just sits down, puts his legs, crosses his legs, because that's kind of his natural posture. And he leans back, and he just allows everything to calm down. He doesn't do anything. He just sits down, doesn't do anything at all, and he goes into a deep state of meditation. And then he teaches this to other people. He says, meditation, you shouldn't be doing anything. You should just be relaxing and enjoying yourself. And if you don't do anything at all, the meditation just happens by itself.
Ik ga over mijn eigen ervaring hebben. Ga het over mijn eigen ervaring hebben. Dat is dus over mijn eigen leraar. Dat is Ajahn Brahmali, zoals jullie dat weten. En hij vertelde mij, hij leerde mij om te mediteren. En mediteren is niets anders dan de dingen in je laten opkomen, de dingen naar je toe laten komen. Hij ging gewoon in meditatiehouding zitten, met in de kleermaker zit. En hij ging ontspannen in die houding en deed absoluut niets. Hij nam het moment waar zoals het kwam. En hij liet gewoon de dingen naar zich toe komen, zoals ze zich voordoen, zonder ze af te stoten.
Okay. And then he would teach this method to other people. He would say to other people, just relax, just sit back, don't do anything. And when you don't do anything, everything will be fine. And then people try this, to try to just sit back and don't do anything. Nothing happens. Why is it that nothing happens? So they go back to Ajahn Brahmali and they say that we're trying your method. We're doing absolutely nothing, just letting go, just letting things be, without doing anything at all. It doesn't work. Ajahn, teach us something else, something more.
En Ajahn Brahmali onderwees dus deze methode aan andere mensen. En hij zei, ontspan in je houding en ga comfortabel zitten. En dat deden de mensen ook, maar op een gegeven moment stelden zich ook de vraag en gingen naar Ajahn Brahmali toe om te vragen, maar als we zo zitten, er gebeurt absoluut niks. Er gebeurt echt niks en buiten ons en er verandert ook niets.
So what do you think Ajahn Brahmali says when people come, they are frustrated, they say it doesn't work? What do you think Ajahn Brahmali says?
Wat denken jullie dat Ajahn Brahmali antwoordt op de vraag van de gefrustreerde beoefenaars omdat er niets gebeurt?
Usually he would say, sit longer. You only sit for 1 hour, sit for 2 hours instead.
Hij zei enkel, ga langer zitten. Je hebt nu 1 uurtje gezeten, dus zit dan 2 uren.
So then they sit for 2 hours, and they come back to Ajahn Brahmali and say, oh, I have pain everywhere, in my knees, my back, everything. It doesn't work.
Zo, de mensen gingen dan ook langer zitten. En uiteindelijk kwamen ze toch wel weer terug naar Ajahn Brahmali om te zeggen, alles doet pijn, alles doet zeer en niks gebeurt.
And this is very interesting because obviously for Ajahn Brahmali it does work. So why is it that it works for one person and why does it not work for other people?
Het is interessant om op te merken dat het voor Ajahn Brahmali toch wel werkt. Voor de leraar werkt het toch. En voor andere personen niet. En wat is het juist wat het verschil maakt? Dat het voor de ene wel werkt en voor de andere niet.
So if we can resolve this problem, if we can understand why, then every one of us can meditate just like Ajahn Brahmali.
Als we nu dit probleem dus kunnen aanpakken en oplossen, dan kan iedereen hier, net zoals Ajahn Brahm, mediteren.
So, are you interested?
Zijn jullie daarin geïnteresseerd?
I thought so. Yeah. This is very interesting, right? Because if you get this, wow, you understand meditation practice.
Als je dit dus doorhebt, dan versta je dus de beoefening van meditatie.
So what I did, because I have been living with Ajahn Brahm for almost 30 years, and this is the way he has always been teaching, in a sense, just relaxed onto anything. And I realized that one of the things that I have always taken an interest in is reading the ancient suttas of the Buddha, the word of the Buddha, and trying to understand Buddhism not just from the point of view of my teacher Ajahn Brahm, but also from the point of view of the Buddha, and then putting the two things together and then trying to understand the path of meditation in this way.
Ik heb dus heel lange tijd met Ajahn Brahm geleefd, of bij hem in het klooster. En ik heb me verdiept in de suttas. En ik heb veel over meditatie, over het thema gestudeerd. En als ik dat samenbreng met de leringen van Ajahn Brahm zelf, dan kan ik wat mee.
And what I discovered in the suttas, because the Buddha teaches meditation everywhere, and he talks about the foundations of meditation. What is the basic thing that you need to have in place for meditation to work? And he always says two things that you have to have right. And if you get those two things right, then meditation will be almost automatic. It will be like Ajahn Brahm, you sit back, you just wait, and as you wait, the bliss, the happiness, the joy, the peace, everything just comes to you. Nothing that you have to do. Two things, the Buddha says, that you have to look out for.
En als je vanuit het gezichtspunt van de Boeddha kijkt, door de suttas, van hoe de Boeddha dus naar de meditatie kijkt, zijn er alleen maar twee dingen die je in acht moet nemen om tot de conclusie te komen van wat Ajahn Brahm zegt. Dus ontspannen en gewoon achterover zitten en tot je toelaten komen.
You know what those two things are?
Weet je wat die twee dingen zijn?
What do you think? Any ideas?
Wat zijn die twee dingen? Wat denken jullie?
Okay, I'll tell you. You don't have to answer. So the Buddha says two things, right? And these things in the suttas, one of them is called sila. You know sila already? It means something like morality, but it actually means much more than that. But let's start off by defining it as morality.
Dus het eerste wat we in acht moeten nemen, dat is dus sila, zegt de Boeddha. Dat is ons ethisch gedrag respecteren. Dat is het eerste wat hij zegt.
And often I come to, I give lots of talks all over the place, not so often in Antwerpen, but, sometimes, once every, 3, 5, okay, so once every 5 years I come to Antwerpen to give a talk. And very often when I give talks, I look at the people who are there, and I know that they are already very good people. No one comes to a Buddhist talk if you are a bad person, it just doesn't happen. So I know it's already good people. And so they say, well, I'm already practicing the 5 precepts. I'm already being generous, doing things of kindness. So what do you mean? What do you mean sila is the foundation for meditation? I'm already doing it.
Zo, ik kom hier naar Antwerpen om de zoveel tijd om een Dhamma-talk te geven. En wat betekent het dus sila beoefenen? Het is dus het naleven van het achtvoudig pad. Als ik naar jullie kijk, diegenen die naar een boeddhistische lezing komen, dat zijn allemaal goede mensen. Dus jullie zijn alvast goed. Maar goed, wat betekent eigenlijk sila?
So if you really want your meditation to work, you have to put the bar very high. We're talking about very high degree of sila. So if you're already keeping the 5 precepts, great, yeah, wonderful, you're already on the right track. But you have to do more than that. And the best way to think about the idea of sila in Buddhism is not just keeping rules of morality, but it's by having a good heart. Yeah, and having a good heart consistently all the time in the way we speak, the way we act, the way we think, yeah, everything. That is when sila becomes powerful.
Zo, voor de meditatie, hoe te komen tot echt sila, moeten we de lat van de meditatie hoger zetten en voor onszelf en nog meer oefenen. Nog meer dus de 5 leefregelen, regels naleven. En het is ook belangrijk, een goed hart. Want een goed hart zorgt ervoor dat je goed spreekt, goed doet en ook goed denkt. Zorg dus voor juist spreken, voor juist denken, juist handelen.
So that is the most important thing for meditation practice. If you can do that, live like this consistently all the time and all the ways, then you have a very powerful foundation for meditation practice. So this is the first point.
Dus dat is een zeer belangrijke basis voor de meditatie en voor je ontwikkeling. Je hebt dan een heel machtig wapen om jezelf dus verder te ontwikkelen en ook te beschermen.
Yeah. So that's the first one. The second one is what the Buddha called right view. Right view means that we look at the world in the right way, in a way which is true to reality, a way that actually works, a way that aligns, a way that is the same as the way the Buddha looked at the world. If we're looking at the world in the right way, then it is much easier to become peaceful. If we don't look at the world in the right way, actually peace is very hard.
En dan het tweede item wat nodig is, dat is juist zien. Als we goed zien, juist zien hoe de wereld in elkaar zit, hoe alle problemen in elkaar zitten, dan is het ook makkelijker om zelf vrediger te worden en vrede te laten ontstaan. Dus juist zien is het tweede wat heel belangrijk is in dit geval.
And I realized that, one of the important things in the Buddhist teachings, one of the important things that we have to let go of is a little bit, we have to abandon a little bit the world around us, let go a little bit of the world that we experience through the 5 senses. Yeah, this is really the critical thing on the Buddhist path. And as long as we desire things in that world, as long as we are strongly attached to the world around us, it means that the mind cannot become peaceful, because when we are attached to this world around us, there's always a degree of desire, there's always a degree of craving, and that desire and craving goes against the peace of the mind.
Het andere wat ik leerde, dat is het loslaten van de wereld om me heen. Dus alles wat wij door de 5 zinnen opnemen. Het is eigenlijk de enige manier om rustig en vredig te worden. Zonder ons aan iets, zonder voorkeur en zonder afkeer. Zonder dat we ons te veel daaraan hechten. Want zonder een voorkeur en een afkeer, zonder ons aan te hechten, alleen maar op die manier kan vrede ontstaan.
So what I want to talk about a little bit is how can we actually let go of the world a little bit, yeah? And straight away I started off by saying that I'm going to talk about some of the problems in the world. We have the war in Ukraine, we have climate problems, we have pandemics, we have natural disasters, you name it, we have it. And because there is so many things going on, it is actually a great opportunity to learn to let go of that world. Because now is a chance to understand that that world is very problematic. And if it is problematic, we need to find peace, we need to find security, we need to find what we call in Buddhism refuge somewhere else.
En als we kunnen zien, de problemen van de wereld, hoe ze echt zijn, hoe die problemen in elkaar zitten, en dat weten we allemaal, dat zijn op dit moment de oorlogen die er gaande zijn in Oekraïne, onder andere de pandemie en die klimaatproblemen onder andere, en er zijn er nog veel meer. Dat is een grote gelegenheid eigenlijk om te proberen te laten zijn de wereld zoals die is en wat er gaande is. En als we ook die problematiek van de wereld op dit moment goed observeren, dan beseffen wij ook dat wij dat niet allemaal zo zomaar kunnen oplossen, maar dat we ergens in toevlucht in iets anders zouden kunnen nemen. Dan nog meer in de problematiek van de wereld mee te gaan.
Okay, so one of the interesting things I was reading as the war in Ukraine, as it started out, there were journalists in Ukraine, and of course those journalists, they were interviewing the ordinary Ukrainians, and they were asking them, how do you feel about the war? Yeah, and that's kind of interesting because people react to these things very differently. And they interviewed 2 people, and their reactions were very different. I want to just discuss those different reactions very briefly.
Ik heb over de oorlog in Oekraïne gelezen en er was een journalist die heeft uiteraard 2 Oekraïense personen geïnterviewd. En ik vond het heel interessant. De vraag was, hoe voel je in deze situatie, nu de oorlog gaande is? En wat mij dus zo heeft geraakt, dat is dat die 2 mensen op 2 heel verschillende manieren hebben gereageerd. En dat zou ik vanavond aan jullie willen voorleggen.
So they interviewed this one young lady, and they asked her, how do you feel about the war? And she replied, it's terrible. Yeah, my future is being destroyed. My family house is being destroyed. My school, my university where I'm going, can no longer function. Everything around me, the whole society, everything that I have relied on, people in my family are dying because of the bombs. My future is being destroyed.
En de journalist vroeg dus aan een jonge dame: hoe voelt u zich nu de oorlog gaande is? En die dame die antwoordde: ik voel me verschrikkelijk. Alles om me heen gaat kapot op dit moment. Mijn toekomst, mijn school, mijn universiteit, mijn familie, de maatschappij. Alles waarop ik kon bouwen en kon rekening mee houden, dat wordt op dit moment kapot gemaakt. Mensen gaan dood enzovoorts.
There is no future in Ukraine. Everything is being destroyed. There is no future anymore. And that's why she was saying what she was saying. Yeah.
Er is geen toekomst meer in Oekraïne. En daarom heeft ze gezegd wat ze heeft gezegd.
And you can understand that, right? It's a natural reaction when this kind of thing happens for your country. Yeah.
En dat is natuurlijk een natuurlijke reactie van wat je kunt voelen als je ziet dat je land uit elkaar wordt gehaald.
Yeah. But was she right?
Maar had ze gelijk in?
And this is where I would say that she actually, even though you can understand her reaction, and even though there was some truth to that reaction, because clearly things were being destroyed around her, even though there was some truth to that, from Buddhist point of view, she's only a little bit right, but mostly wrong.
We kunnen ook proberen haar reactie te verstaan, te begrijpen, maar ook vanuit een boeddhistisch standpunt is het niet helemaal correct dat ze zo reageert.
And to show you how that is the case, I will show you the reaction to this other young, I'm not sure if she was young, but another woman who was also interviewed in the same situation.
En om jullie te laten zien dat je ook anders zou kunnen reageren, zal ik de tweede persoon van het interview willen citeren. Dat is dus een andere mevrouw, maar niet meer zo jong als deze dame.
And they asked her, how do you feel about the war?
En de journalist vroeg: hoe voelt u zich ten opzichte van wat er nu gaande is?
And she replied, and this is kind of very interesting, and this is very counterintuitive. But what she said that it was strange, she said, but now that the war had started, she felt better than before the war. And she said that something very strange happened when the bombs started to fall, things started to explode, things started to go wrong around her. What happened was that people started to come together. People started to have more compassion and understanding for each other. People started to help each other out because they knew they were faced with a problem that they could not solve individually. Only by working together, only by having compassion for each other, only by doing the right thing in a difficult time would they be able to carry on and continue living.
En die vrouw heeft geantwoord: ik voel me nu beter dat de oorlog is begonnen. En hoe dat komt? Dat is omdat daarvoor iedereen voor zichzelf leefde. En de oorlog heeft nu mensen bij elkaar gebracht. Heeft nu daarvoor gezorgd dat er meer compassie en meer begrip voor anderen ontstaat. Het is dus niet dat individueel iets gaat moeten gebeuren, maar dat met z'n allen zal kunnen, met een hele groep mensen kan gebeuren, om verder te leven.
So isn't that very interesting? Yeah. Here you are, maybe the most difficult, the most challenging time of your life. Everything is really going wrong in the world around you, and yet you feel happier. than you did before the war. It's kind of a strange paradox in a sense, and we need to try to understand this.
Het is dus een paradox. Want terwijl er zoveel dingen gaande zijn om ons heen waar we geen of bijna geen grip kunnen uitoefenen, dat we toch ons, ondanks dat allemaal, toch wel beter kunnen voelen. Dat is toch wel een uitdagende paradox.
And it's fascinating. This is not the only time that I have read about this. When I was still a young man, but when I went to university, this is a long time ago now, I had a girlfriend. Not when I was a monk, before I was a monk, just to be absolutely clear. And and she gave me a book, and this book was called Human Beings and Happiness. And this book told the story. This was written by a man. This was written just after the Second World War in Norway. And he wrote the story of what happened to him and to his friends during the Second World War.
En dat is niet de eerste keer dat ik dit hoor. Toen ik nog student was en ook voor ik nog een monnik was, toen had ik ook een vriendin. En zij gaf me een boek. En dat boek dat heet Mens zijn en geluk. En het werd geschreven door iemand die dus de Tweede Wereldoorlog heeft overleefd.
And he said something very similar to what this lady in Ukraine was saying. He was saying that during the Second World War, because there was so much destruction, there wasn't as much destruction in Norway as there was in continental Europe, in Belgium, but there still was quite a bit of destruction. People were dying, all kind of bad things were happening. People were sent off to the concentration camps, and all kind of bad things were happening. But despite that, despite it being difficult to get food because there was food rationing during the Second World War, there was rationing of clothes, very difficult to get hold of anything really during that period of time. And despite people dying, despite having a more difficult time on all levels, he said it was a time of more happiness than it had been before the Second World War.
En de schrijver van dat boek, die zei dat er iets was gebeurd dat tijdens de Wereldoorlog, wanneer zoveel mensen doodgingen, naar concentratiekampen werden gestuurd, dat ze te weinig of niks aan eten hadden of kleren, dat zoveel mensen doodgingen, zo zware tijden, dat ondanks dat allemaal, dat de mensen toch wel gelukkiger waren.
And he said exactly the same as this lady had said, that the reason for that was because people were coming together, working together, having a sense of harmony with each other, having compassion for each other because family members were dying. And because of all that, they actually did more good than they normally would do. They would be more generous. They would be more caring and give more of their time, give more of their wealth, whatever they had, to support the world around them.
En hij zei ook dat de reden voor dit geluk, of dit gevoel van gelukkigheid van mensen, ook was omdat de oorlog mensen bij elkaar gebracht heeft. Om meer compassie uit te oefenen, om meer in harmonie te zijn, om meer samen te werken. En ook om voor de anderen te zorgen. En ook vrijgevigheid uit te oefenen.
So what does this mean?
Wat betekent dit? Het is hetzelfde wat die Oekraïense vrouw ook heeft gezegd.
And
ze voelt zich nu gelukkig.
What it means is that for human beings to be happy, the spiritual qualities, the qualities inside of us of kindness, generosity, compassion, understanding, these qualities are more important for our happiness than the world outside.
En dit betekent dat de spirituele kwaliteiten van ons als mensen, dat die dus belangrijker zijn dan alles wat er buiten ons gaande is.
So this is a beautiful example, and sometimes it's very strange, when life goes very well, the world is kind of very peaceful, as it has been, for the last decades after the Second World War. Sometimes we become a bit stupid. We become a bit complacent. We don't understand how good it is, and then we complain about everything is so terrible or whatever, completely forgetting what it's like when there's war and there's misery and all of these kind of problems. Sometimes happiness is your worst enemy, because you forget actually, you forget what actually the world really can be like.
En al die stabiliteit die we bijvoorbeeld na de Tweede Oorlog mee hebben gemaakt, dat er voor alles wordt gezorgd en zo, dat is eigenlijk een geluk dat eigenlijk niet goed is. Want als we het zo goed hebben, zo stabiel hebben, dan vergeten we heel makkelijk al hetgene wat ons tijdens de oorlog samen heeft gebracht. En wij beginnen te klagen over alles in feite en ontevreden te worden. Dus in een bepaalde zin is dat geen goed geluk, zou je kunnen noemen.
So this brings me to the point of all the problems we have in the world now, Sometimes people get really sad and get depressed. They think that the world is going to come to an end because there's too many problems and cannot be resolved, and the governments are not good because they can't sort it out. And there's probably some truth to that. But it is an opportunity, right? It is an opportunity to remember what actually really matters in life. Because what we see when we see that there are all these refugees everywhere, when we see that the climate is really out of control, we don't know what is happening with the climate. We don't know where it's going to go. When we see that one pandemic is just finished, when is the next one going to happen? When we see people dying in tsunamis, when we see the wars kind of raging up around the world, when we see the rivalries between the superpower China becoming very powerful, you start to wonder what's going to happen. Where are we going? Right? It is so uncertain.
En als we kijken naar de problemen van nu en we zien zoveel mensen die depressief zijn, want niemand kan die problemen oplossen die er zijn. Dus de oorlogen die gaan door, de agressie gaat door, we kunnen niks aan doen aan het klimaat, het wordt steeds erger, enzovoorts, enzovoorts. Dan zien we over het oog dat dit eigenlijk een wonderbaarlijke gelegenheid is om weer te ontdekken wat het belangrijke is in het leven, waar het eigenlijk om draait. Want soms is zoiets nodig, totdat we dat gewoon doorhebben, wat belangrijk is voor ons. Dus dat we wakker worden geschud.
And then we can make the choice. Are we going to react like the lady in Ukraine who says that her future is destroyed? Or are we going to react like the other lady who actually says, no, let's get together. Let's be compassionate. Let's live a better life. Let's build up the spiritual qualities inside instead of just complaining about what is happening here.
En we kunnen misschien dan wel een keus maken. Of we kunnen als de jonge dame daar in Oekraïne reageren dat alles kapot is gegaan en dat het niet meer goed komt. Of we kunnen reageren zoals de tweede dame, die werd geïnterviewd en die zei, laat ons maar samenkomen om samen meer compassie te beoefenen, om samen beter te kunnen werken en samen iets te doen, tot stand te brengen.
The truth is that, she, the First Lady, she was saying, my future is destroyed. But actually, that's not really true. Because our future is not dependent so much on what happens in the world around us. The world around us is out of control. We don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah, when are the Russians going to invade Belgium? Is that probably not. It's probably unlikely. But the point is that we just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, it is so uncertain. I happen to live in Australia, in the city of Perth, which is far away from everywhere. And people say, yeah, the war in Ukraine, yeah, far away, got nothing to do with me. Actually, it has to do with us, but it is a reminder of the uncertainty of everything in the world. We don't know what is going to happen next. And that uncertain world around us, the world which is out of control, the world where things are building up under the surface, like, if you have an earthquake, suddenly the earthquake happens, but it's caused by things building up under the surface, slowly, making the tension more and more stronger, until one day the tension reaches a point where a release is required, and then you have a massive earthquake. And the world is a bit like that. The tensions get stronger and stronger and stronger, until eventually you have a war, until eventually you have climate change, until eventually you have big problems in the world. So because the world is like that, we need to find another way of living our lives, another way of thinking about our existence and our future.
En omdat alles eigenlijk onzeker is, de hele wereld is onzeker om ons heen, we kunnen eigenlijk niet controleren, is het toch wel belangrijk om een uitweg hierin te vinden, om toch wel door te gaan, zonder daarin negatief van te worden, zoals in het eerste geval van die jonge dame, die dus beweerde dat haar leven kapot was gegaan aan de oorlog. We kunnen dit vergelijken een beetje als een aardbeving. Die ontstaat ook door bewegingen binnen in de aarde. En dat gaat zo door en door en door, totdat er uiteindelijk een explosie gebeurt of iets. Een aardbeving, aardverschuiving of zoiets. En dat is ook met de situaties zoals ze zich nu voordoen, met de problematiek die zich nu voordoet. En zodoende krijgen wij nu ineens een oorlog, een pandemie, problemen met het milieu enzovoort.
So once you understand that the world, in a sense, is out of control, we can only do so much as an individual person. Yes, you can help out, you can do what is right, but in the end, you have no control of what's going to happen in the world. When you see that, you do what the other person on the ground did. You start to look at your life in a different way. And what you start to see is that actually the true source of happiness in our life is not actually what happens in the world anyway. Why are we so concerned about what is happening in the world, when we know, like the other lady did, like the man in Norway who wrote the book did, that actually happiness comes from the qualities of the heart instead?
En als we de wereld willen begrijpen, zo zonder controle als het nu gaat, dan realiseren we ons ook dat we toch niet echt alles kunnen controleren. En er is een manier, zoals de schrijver van het boek en de tweede dame van het interview, die hebben gezien dat onze eigen waarden, dat zijn de echte waarden die tellen. Wat wij uit onze leven maken. En dat kan enkel gebeuren als we de kwaliteiten van het hart cultiveren.
So if you want to, according to the Buddhist teachings, If you want to create a good future, the future is not about what happens in the side, even in the future. A good future depends on how you live your life now. If you build up good inner qualities, if you are more kind than you are already, if you are more generous, if you're more compassionate, if you're more understanding, if you use the wisdom that you have in a good way, if you live in a good way, then your future is secured. And the reason for that is because when you're happy inside, the world outside does not have the same ability to touch you as it had before.
En als je ziet wat de boeddhistische insteek hierbij brengt, die zegt dus, die vraagt ons dus om nog meer ons best te doen om in de juiste manier te leven, om op de juiste manier te handelen en te spreken en te doen. En enkel daarin zit het opbouwen van een betere toekomst. Anders is dat niet mogelijk. En bovendien, als je die kwaliteiten blijft cultiveren, dat beschermt je op de een of andere manier, zodat je wat er in de wereld gebeurt en wat je eigenlijk niet kunt veranderen, dat het je niet meer zo raakt.
And that is only for this life. You're creating this life is better already by living in this way. And of course, if you take into account the Buddhist idea of future lives, the idea of rebirth and these things, then of course those rebirths, wherever you go in the future, of course also is entirely dependent on the qualities that you build up in this life.
Als we bijvoorbeeld kijken naar wedergeboorte in het boeddhisme, dan is het natuurlijk ook gebaseerd dat je weer wordt herboren. Dat is ook gebaseerd op de goede kwaliteiten die jij in je vorig leven hebt gecultiveerd. Om een goede toekomst op te bouwen, is het belangrijk om goed op dit moment, om juist op dit moment te leven.
So if you are concerned about your future, if you want to have a good life, is anyone here who doesn't want to have a good life? Everyone wants to have a good life, right? I mean, otherwise there's no point to this existence. Everyone wants to have a good life. If you are concerned about the future, don't worry so much about the world, because the world is going to go its own way, almost regardless of what we do. So forget about the world a little bit. Turn off the television. Close the newspapers. Don't go on the internet. Go occasionally. It's nice to know a little bit about what's happening in the world, but don't worry too much about it. Instead, what you should worry about is your own conduct, your own kindness, how you live your life.
Dus als je heel bezorgd bent over de toekomst, kijk een beetje minder naar het nieuws. Ga niet zoveel op internet naar het nieuws kijken enzovoort. En maak je ook niet te druk om wat buiten je gebeurt en waarop je geen invloed hebt. Maar zorg ervoor dat jij op een juiste manier leeft. Dat jij zelf op een juiste manier leeft.
Do you agree? Yeah? Okay, good, you agree.
Zijn jullie het mee eens?
We are on the same page. That's really good. Yeah. If we disagree, we have a problem. If we agree, we are okay. Then we're fine. We have to do
Als
more.
we het eens zijn, dan is het prima. En anders hebben wij een probleem.
So that's good. And this is such a beautiful way of thinking about life, because it makes you optimistic. It means that you have the key within you to your own future. Your future does not rely on the impossible to control external world. If your future really relies on that, there's no chance. Future is kind of really out of control. But if your future has to do with how we are as human beings, how we treat ourselves, how we treat our friends, our kalanamittas, all the good people around us, then our happiness is in our own hands. And what a wonderful thing that is.
Het is dus een mooie weg om naar een mooie manier om naar het leven te kijken en te beseffen dat er dingen zijn buiten ons waarover wij geen controle kunnen uitoefenen, maar wij kunnen dan zelf onze toekomst maken door onszelf ook beter te voelen ten opzichte van wat er gebeurt.
And this can also be used in your meditation practice as well. I don't know if you have noticed how the mind sometimes drifts off. You think about the future, you think about problems, you think about your job, you think about your family. Have anyone had that problem in the meditation? Yeah? Okay. Wow, surprise, surprise. Everyone has that problem, right? And you can use this insight I've just been talking about now to actually help you in a meditation practice. Because if the world is out of control, if you don't know what's going to happen in the world, there's no point in thinking about it. Why are we thinking about things when you solve maybe one problem and there's another problem just waiting to come behind? It's an endless resolving of problems. And still things go wrong. Still they're out of control, right? So forget it.
Dus maak je geen zorgen om al die problemen die om je heen nu zijn. Hoe vaak is het ook tijdens je beoefening van meditatie dat het ene opkomt of het andere. Je denkt over het werk, over wat er aan het gebeuren is, over de dagelijkse dingen die je nog moet doen enzovoort. En je ziet wel dat dat ook niks brengt. Want wat er met het milieu gebeurt, met de oorlogen, met de politiek, met allemaal, daar heb je helemaal geen invloed op. Dus waarom zou je je dan zo druk over maken? Gebruik het ook tijdens je meditatie om dat ook zo te zien, om je dat ook zo te realiseren.
So if your future is made by the quality of your heart, if the future is made by the quality of your kindness, generosity, compassion, and these kind of things, then these are the things we develop in meditation practice. That's where you become more kind. That's where you become more peaceful. That's where you have the compassion, to support other people in the world. So actually, it is in meditation that we create our future. Because that is where we develop those good mind qualities that we bring with us also next year, the year after, and eventually until we actually die from this world. So because of that, if you want to create your future, you should never think about it. That is a waste of time. If you want to create a good future, you should be peaceful and quiet in the present moment, developing the good qualities. That is where the future is made.
Dus blijf de kwaliteiten van het hart cultiveren. Dat is in feite de toekomst. Als je de kwaliteiten van het hart cultiveert, zowel in je meditatie als in je gewone leven, dan kun je zeggen dat meditatie de toekomst schept. Denk niet dat je zelf invloed kunt hebben op de toekomst. Maar alle steentjes, alle bijdragers, die kunnen misschien wat doen.
And this is a very powerful way of thinking. Because if you really understand this, if you kind of see that this actually must be true in the long run, if you see that, it's a very powerful tool to calm down your mind, because there's no point anymore in actually thinking about the future. The future becomes irrelevant. In fact, one of the things that I like to do when I meditate, I like to say to myself, I have no future. Yeah? And that's so nice, not to have a future. Yeah? No future. If there is no future, all you have is the present. You have the here and now, and everything else is irrelevant. So say to yourself, I have no future. Yeah, and it sounds paradoxical, and it sounds like something which kind of, usually when you say to someone, you have no future, it means kind of it's really a bad thing. But when you say it to yourself, it's actually a very positive thing. Your future, the way we normally think about it, is irrelevant. Allow the mind instead to rest in the present and build up to your future by meditating peacefully, quietly, kindly, with compassion right now.
Als ik bijvoorbeeld mediteer, dan zeg ik altijd tegen mezelf, ik heb geen toekomst. En wat betekent dat? Dat ik enkel maar het nu heb, op dit moment. Ik heb geen invloed op wat buiten mezelf gebeurt. En de toekomst zoals ze gaat gebeuren, dat is irrelevant. Het is belangrijk bij jezelf te blijven en tijdens de meditatie jezelf af te vragen of tegen jezelf te zeggen, ik heb geen toekomst. Dan ben je helemaal in het nu en ja, controle over de dingen buiten je, dat kun je toch niet uitoefenen. Dus begin bij jezelf. Om meer compassie te hebben voor jezelf, om vredevoller te worden voor jezelf, om vriendelijker voor jezelf te zijn. Dus de hartskwaliteiten ontwikkelen.
So this is the kind of the Buddhist way to think about the problems of life and the problems of the world. This is a Buddhist kind of attitude because it looks for the solution in a different place than we normally look for the solutions in life. And this is kind of one of those very interesting things. If we take the problems in our life and the problems in our world and we consider them in light of the Buddhist teachings, through the prism of the Buddhist teachings, then actually we can start to use any problem we have, use it for growth. And when you use problems for growth rather than becoming depressed, rather than becoming sad, then you're going to have a really good life because problems become positive.
Dit is dus de boeddhistische manier om met de problemen van het leven om te gaan. Met hetgene waar we geen invloed op hebben. Neem de problemen zoals ze zijn en kijk naar hen. Gebruik de problemen die er buiten je zijn voor je eigen groei. Je kijkt ernaar en je ziet wat je daarvan kunt leren. En als je dat kunt inzien, dan heb je een goed leven.
So, I'm going to summarize my talk.
Hij gaat zijn talk samenvatten. Inderdaad, dankjewel.
Yeah. So I'm going to summarize it. Samenvatten. Samenvatten? Is that how you say? Yeah. Samenvatten? No.
Samenvatten.
Samenvatten. Okay. Same as in Norwegian. Norwegian, exactly the same word. That's why I understood straight away.
I can talk Norwegian.
You can absolutely. Yeah, very similar. So I'm going to summarize the talk, and I'm going to summarize this talk in a very brief way, in one word. Actually, maybe more than one word. I'm wondering how many words. What is a suitable number of words? Yeah, one word. Okay, I will summarize. One of the most interesting things that the Buddha said, and that is really kind of, I think, a beautiful summary. The last word Buddha said on his deathbed, the Buddha was dying, the very last word he said to the monks, to the community around him. You know what that is? You don't know what it is? Okay, I'm going to teach you. You're going to hear. So, something like that, right? So his very last word, I will do it in Pali first of all, right? He says, Vaya Dhamma Sankara Apamadena Sampadeta. And you don't have to translate that.
Okay.
Otherwise, too much suffering for you. Enough suffering already to be the translation.
Okay.
So, the last word of the Buddha, right? So it must be very important. This is the very last thing he said to the monks, to the nuns maybe who were there, the lay people who were there. His very last word. So what this really is, it is a summary of the entire teaching of the Buddha. Vaya Dhamma Sankara. All things have the nature to come to an end.
Dus de allerlaatste woorden van de Boeddha voordat hij stierf, in tegenwoordigheid van zoveel mensen die daar waren, was dus: alle dingen zijn vergankelijk.
And that means that things are out of control. We don't know what's going to happen next. Things are going to change. Things are going to come to an end. Other things are going to start. It means things are out of control. We cannot control the world.
En dat betekent dat de dingen buiten onze controle zijn. Ze zijn oncontroleerbaar. Wij kunnen de dingen buiten ons niet controleren.
Okay. And then the second thing he said, which is basically what Piotr said, is that apamadena sampadeta. It means like carry on with heedfulness, with diligence, with carefulness, with circumspection, these kind of things.
En het tweede ding wat hij zei, wat Piotr hier zei, dat is: ga door met de beoefening van aandachtzaamheid. Dat is het tweede wat hij zei.
And what does that mean in practice? In practice, and this is the one word I was going to summarize everything with, what that means in practice, it means kindness.
Dit is dus de samenvatting die ik wilde geven in één woord. En dat betekent dus vriendelijkheid.
So this is my whole talk. That's my whole talk, I should have come, just said one word and left again. So much time wasted.
Dat is dus de samenvatting van mijn hele speech vanavond. Dus
so remember that one word, remember kindness. If you remember that, not just every now and again, all the time, then you'll be okay.
Onthoud dus dat ene woord. En neem het dan met je mee. Vriendelijkheid.
Okay, what did we call it? How do you translate kindness?
Vriendelijkheid.
Friendliness. No?
Yes, something like that.
Okay.
Yes, because kindness is compassion and friendliness
together.
I guess so. That's the way how.
Good, excellent. No, that's a good translation. I like that. So, anyway, I have talked enough. So we only have a few minutes left. So if you want to argue with me, if you want to disagree, if you want to tell me off for having wrong view, if you want to ask questions too, that's okay. I want to basically open up if you want to ask some questions and you can speak in Flemish if you like. You don't have to speak in English if you feel uncertain about English language. That's okay.
Zo, nu is tijd voor discussie, uitwisseling, vragen enzovoorts. Dus voel je vrij om te vragen en te reageren. Het hoeft niet in Engels. Desnoods gaan we dat vertalen.
So the Buddha said that if you want to be intelligent in your next life, you have to ask questions in this life. That's what he said,
De Boeddha zei dat wil je intelligent zijn in je komend leven en je volgend leven, dan moet je nu vragen stellen.
Now the pressure is on, right? You want to be intelligent in the future life. Heidi, you want to start with a question? What? Yeah, yeah. Aha. Very good question, right? And I agree with you. We know deep down that kindness is right. Yeah, we know that all the time. We know that kindness creates happiness for ourselves and also for other people. It's kind of obvious. So why can't we do it when we know it? And the reason is because our habits are very strong. Yeah, habits that we have brought with us sometimes from past lives, and sometimes simply from this life, because the way we have been brought up by our parents, going to school, having all the problems in school or whatever it might be that we have. And all of these conditions work on us in such a way that we have very powerful habits. And habits are very hard to change, yeah. I don't know if you notice, sometimes there are certain people that make things come out of you, certain people that are very difficult to deal with or whatever. Sometimes family members, when I'm going back to visit my mother soon, so I know that's going to be very interesting for me. But I know that family members are the people who are most dear to us, but they're also the people who can kind of sometimes upset us the most. And that is because the habits are very strong. Yeah, we have been living with family members for so long. They know which button to push, right? And and you get upset as a consequence. So that is the most important thing in Buddhism, is to overcome those habits. That is really the hard part. And if you live with commitment to doing the right thing, slowly, you will change. The momentum is like you have a super tanker going full steam ahead. The momentum is very, very high. It takes a long time to steer it around. Those habits we have is like the super tanker moving forward. But gradually, you turn it around. And eventually, after a few years, a few decades maybe, a few lifetimes, it depends on how hard you practice, suddenly you're going in the opposite direction. Yeah? And that's a beautiful thing when you see that happening inside of you.
Zo, de vraag was, hoe komt het dat wij weten wat goed voor ons is en dat we toch het tegendeel doen? Ajahn Brahmali antwoordt daarop dat gewoon komt vanwege onze gewoontes. Gewoontes in dit leven, maar ook gewoontes uit de vorige levens. Gewoontes die we meeslepen van leven tot leven. En bijvoorbeeld, het is vaak zo dat de mensen van die we het meeste houden, die mensen die kwetsen ons het meeste, of wij voelen ons het meest gekwetst door die mensen. We kunnen het moeilijkst omgaan met onze partner, met ons kind, noem maar op. En dat allemaal, dat is omdat onze gewoontes zo sterk verankerd zijn. De enige manier om dat te veranderen is dus om het juiste, het goede te cultiveren en blijven cultiveren. En blijven daarna kijken. En dan misschien met de tijd, korter of langer, of misschien zelfs in een ander leven, kunnen die gewoontes worden veranderd. Maar geef de moed niet op.
Yeah, and I think, it's also useful to have some strategies for how to overcome these things. And one of the most important things to overcome is like any ill will or anger that we have. This is the most important thing to overcome. And even though I'm sure most of you here are very good people, most people have a little bit more anger than they need to have. We can always make a little bit less of the anger in life. So how can we do that? How can we become more kind-hearted? How can we see people in such a way that anger dies down almost to zero? We never become angry again. And the way to do that is to understand that when other people do things to you that you may not like. It is not because they want to be bad towards you. Yeah, the reason they do that is because of their habits, their background, all of this conditioning coming together. They probably understand, just like we understand, deep down they understand, I should be kinder, but they're not able to be kinder. Yeah, and when you look at the people like that, this is a person who knows they should be kinder, but they're not able to do it. Then you can have compassion instead. Then you can have understanding. And instead of getting upset if someone treats you badly, you have compassion for the other person.
En de manier om dit te overkomen, dus ja, we worden allemaal boos. En hoe dan te overkomen dat we nog bozer worden, dat we nog meer gaan reageren. Dat is dus onze eigen gewoontes proberen te verstaan en te begrijpen. Maar ook als de ander ons kwetst, zou het wenselijk zijn om te verstaan dat hij dat doet vanuit zijn eigen gewoontes, vanuit zijn eigen andere levens, wat hij ook allemaal doormaakt. En als we dat in kunnen zien, dus ons daar een beetje in kunnen leven in de ander, dan kunnen we ook meer compassie ontwikkelen in plaats van boosheid. Dus compassie is juist het tegengif om te reageren wanneer iemand boos wordt. Dus compassievol met die persoon omgaan.
Very good. Boosheid. That's
Boosheid.
Anger. Is it? Anger.
Anger. It is the
it's
word.
It's a good word. It's a nice word. Boosheid. I like that word. Okay. You okay, Heidi? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay. So, okay. Anyone else? Don't have anything to say here? Okay. Please, if you have a stupid question, usually the stupid questions are the best ones, yeah? Because everyone thinking, oh, my question is too stupid, I don't know if I can answer. Please don't be afraid. All right. You sure don't want to ask anything? You want to say anything? You want to make a statement about anything or nothing to say? All quiet? Yeah? Yeah, you must say, okay, I have Vimala, please. Yeah. 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 Sure. That is true. That is true. Yeah, questions often get answered by themselves, but it can also be useful to ask them anyway. Even if you know the answer, still it can be good to ask because you make it a slightly different, broader view, a slightly different angle on things. So sometimes, even if you know the answer, still ask the question. Yeah. So, I know the answer. No need to ask. Yes, need to ask. That's what I reckon. Because and that's what I sometimes do when I stay with Ajahn Brahmali, yeah, my teacher in Perth. Even though I think I know the answer, I go to Ajahn Brahmali. Okay, Ajahn, what do you think about this? And then he talks to me and says, "Oh yeah." And then after it's finished, I say, "Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was thinking." But he always adds something extra, right? He adds a new angle, a different way of looking at things. And this is kind of the nice thing about being in the presence of someone who has a little bit of wisdom, maybe a little bit of understanding of the suttas or the word of the Buddha. They can often add a new dimension, a new way of understanding, which kind of broadens things out.
Het commentaar van Ajahn was dus dat je soms vragen hebt in je hoofd en dat op een duur toch het juiste antwoord in je hoofd opduikt. En Ajahn zegt, het is dan toch wel goed om die vraag toch te stellen, hardop te stellen, zodat er misschien een ander perspectief, een ander licht erop wordt gegooid op het antwoord wat we zelf hebben gevonden of wat we denken dat het is. Hij zelf zegt dat hij dat met Ajahn Brahmali doet, met zijn eigen leraar. En dat verandert heel vaak de invalshoek, hoe de vraag zou kunnen worden beantwoord. Dus er zijn geen domme vragen, met andere woorden. Dus stel ze gewoon. En misschien bekijk je dan het antwoord dat je misschien nu al voor jezelf hebt gevonden, vanuit een ander standpunt.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So now, you want to ask now, or it's still the same? Still the same, okay. Oh, we're trying really hard here, but yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, well, good. So, I don't know, in that case, I'm happy as well, I guess. So everyone has done their job, we've done our bit. So very nice to meet you all, and I wish you all the very best. I wish you much progress in your meditation and in your life in general. And if you live well, the most important thing is always to live well. If you live well, then you're always going to be on the right track. Yeah, your life is going to get better as a consequence. And to be able to live well, one of the things I always say to people is that we think it is easy to remember to be kind, but actually it is not easy. Just like Heidi was saying, is that even though we want to be kind, sometimes actually it is very hard, because of our habits or whatever. So we need to be reminded of kindness all the time. So what I really recommend you to do is to come back to these beautiful teachings of the Buddha. Come back to read a sutta. Come back to listen to a talk. Invite Venerable Vimala to Antwerpen. How often do you invite her to Antwerpen? Okay, not enough. Not enough. You have to. Not enough. Okay, so yeah. You will. Okay, that's marvelous. That's wonderful. Yeah, and so make sure that you come back to these teachings. Yeah, listen to a talk to re-establish this idea of being kind, of living well, because actually it is very easy to forget in daily life. And it's only when you are consistently mindful about this, reminded of this all the time, that you're going to live this spiritual life that is really going to be beneficial for you, and it's going to transform you as a person if you do it in the right way. So that is what my recommendation to you.
So, het advies van Ajahn voor ons is om te leven op de juiste manier. En om ons eraan te herinneren. Want vaak in het dagelijkse leven vergeten we wat juist is, wat goed is. De leringen van de Boeddha bijvoorbeeld. Dus blijf bij je eigen oefening. Blijf lezen over de leringen van de Boeddha. Kom naar lezingen. Blijf doorgaan, want dat gaat je sterken. En enkel op die manier kun je je gewoontes ook langzamerhand veranderen. Enkel daarmee kunnen wij iets veranderen.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
So, thank you for translating.
Thank you so much for this evening.
Yeah, wonderful.
Sadhu.
Very good.
Sadhu.
Excellent.
Sadhu.
Very marvelous. Okay.